Hey, finally, I'm doing something with the Dreadbox Nyx. Now this is a very focused video. It's looking exclusively at the Nyx routing options. And it's kind of intermediate level. If you're a newbie to synths, some of this might not make sense, but I've done a lot of illustrations and diagrams that helps, I hope they help explain it. And so this video is kind of set up in an intro explanation and then 5 examples. Now also with those examples I have a diagram, so if you want to kind of study what each of the routing configurations are, just take a screen capture of the diagram. And the diagram looks like this. And again, when it gets to that part, it will say routing example number 1, number 2, whatever. Just take a screen capture of that and then you can study it later. Super, as always, impressed with Dreadbox. As I say in the video, and as I also said in the end of the year roundup, the Nyx is just a very outside of the box design. I think it would appeal to modular folks a lot, but it's all in one package. And again, this is totally ignoring what you can patch with the modular patch points. So anyway, super happy with it, and sit back, relax, enjoy this explanation of how some of the routing works, the routing options work, configuration options work in the Dreadbox Nyx. You know, the sound on the filter is just slightly different than the Erebus and even the Murmux. And I meant to ask the Dreadbox folks if there's a reason why. I love it, but it seems a little brighter. I don't know, something leaning more towards either my Yamaha CS5 or I would say even kind of like an MS-20-ish sound. I don't think they changed the core oscillator, but something sounds slightly different. But I like it. It's something, it gives it a little more, slightly different personality than I'm going to say the Erebus or the Hades or the Murmux or anything like that. So I am drinking another Aldi special from Aldi. This is called Boot Tread. It's a Belgian amber ale. I think it's supposed to be competing with Fat Tire. And having lived in Belgium, I can tell you that even a mediocre Belgian beer is usually better than an average American beer. Substantially so. So anyway, whatever you're doing, enjoy this. Hopefully you'll understand a little bit more and appreciate a little bit more the Dreadbox Nyx after this. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to NAMM next week. So if you're going to be there, maybe I'll see you. Cheers. Hey, we're taking a look at the Dreadbox Nyx today. More specifically, we're looking at one of the more complicated aspects of the synth, and that is the selectable routing for the oscillators, the filters, and the modulators. Yes, in this video, we're ignoring all the semi-modular patching possibilities and focusing on just the switchable routing features. The routing controls on the Nyx are located in 2 places, in the top left corner here, and just above the modulators and underneath the main filter cutoff knob here. Now you're probably asking, what exactly do each of the parts route that I've highlighted here? And, well, let's explain it a little bit. Okay, so I've colored in the areas that correspond to what they control. Once again, kind of going over that real quick. This area here in the routing controls the routing for the oscillators. That's why it says VCO there. Oscillator 1 and Oscillator 2. This section controls the routing for the voltage-controlled filters, or actually more the configuration as much as the routing. And again, whether they're in parallel or in series or high pass or low pass. And then the last piece here, the mod route, as it's called on the synth, controls the routing for modulator 1 and modulator 2, whether one or both affects filter 1, filter 2, or both filter 1 and filter 2. And you'll see as I draw this out in a little bit how that makes sense. Okay, what I'm trying to do here, trying to illustrate how the different routing selections work, I've drawn little boxes that represent the different things being routed. This picture shows the parts of the synth that are represented by the labeled boxes that I will use in my illustrations to kind of show how the routing works. So here's my first routing example, and I'll walk through this a little bit to give you an explanation of how the basic layout works. On successive examples, I will not explain everything so in depth. So, as I've already sort of illustrated before, here this routing section for VCOs correlates to oscillator 1 and oscillator 2, and it's set to NOR. So here I describe what NOR is. NOR is that both VCOs are sent to the first voltage-controlled filter. So here I have a picture of VCO 1 and VCO 2, and you can see they're both going into voltage-controlled filter 1. So the second part, the VCF routing, voltage-controlled filter routing configuration, is set to LPF. LPF, right here again, states that VCF1 is set to low pass, and it is in series with VCF2, which is also set to low pass. Then lastly, the last bit of our routing configuration here, the mod root is set to single. And what single means is that mod 1 controls both VCFs. And you can see this little dashed line shows that mod 1 and only mod 1 controls the low pass filter 1 and low pass filter 2. You can see over here in the legend, this is a control signal. Audio signals are the thicker blue line. And then I've nicely explained what all the little acronyms and abbreviations are. So what this example is going to show you is a configuration that will give you a normal 2-oscillator synth running through a 24 dB low-pass filter with VCF1, that's voltage-controlled filter 1, which is a 12 dB filter, and voltage-controlled filter 2, which is also 12 dB. And because they're running in series, they act like a 24 dB filter. So running in series, they provide a 24 dB filter effect. Mod 1 acts as a simple 80 envelope for the two filters. And again, that's shown right here. Okay, so we're going to do the first routing example, and it is already set up. The VCO is set to NOR. The VCF routing is set to LPF, low pass filter. That means both of the filters are set to low pass. And the mod root routing is set to single, which means just modulator 1 is affecting both filters. And again, basically this is just a 24 dB filter because both 12 dB filters are in series. Both oscillators are passing in through filter 1 and then passing through filter 2 and then off to the VCA, the voltage controlled amplifier. Let's hear the resonance a little bit. So that's some pretty heavy 24 dB Moog-like. I mean, because the standard Moog filter is 24 dB. And both oscillators are set at 16 foot, or 16 feet. Is it foot or feet? So, let's go ahead and do the next routing example. So this routing example is a lot like the one we just did. In fact, all the settings are the same except we're changing the VCF routing to HPF, high pass filter. Pretty impressive. I have to say I love this synth. It offers the ability to configure things in a way no other synth that I have can do. And so it's actually restricted in some ways and way beyond my other synths in other ways. So I'm having a great time. I love the fact I'm enough of a logic binary math geek that I love the fact I have to kind of sort of figure this out and map it out. But that being said, I don't think you really have to do the mathematical approach. You can just wing it and play with the controls and come up with whatever. So. Okay, so routing example number 3. Okay, so this one has, again, VCO routing NOR. The VCF routing is going to be odd. And the mod routing is going to be single still. So what this is going to do is route, and I've already described this, but VCO1 and VCO2 will be going into VCF1, the voltage controlled filter 1. It will be set to low pass, and nothing will be going through voltage controlled filter number 2. So this is like having sort of a standard synthesizer with a 12 dB filter, both oscillators going through it, and being controlled only by modulator 1. You don't get quite as much of a resonance effect with the 12 dB versus 24 dB. You still get a lot though. That's max resonance. So that sounds great too. So again, this is I think the third routing setting, and it's very similar to the first routing setting, except it's a 12 dB, 12 decibel, 2-pole filter effect versus the 4-pole, 24 dB filter effect with the very first example. So the next one. Example number 4. So this is slightly different. The VCO routing is going to be set to split, and the VCF routing will be set to odd. Actually, it's already set at odd, and the mod routing will be set to split. Now what this does is it lets you send VCO1 directly to VCF1, so oscillator 1 goes directly to filter 1, and oscillator 2 goes directly to filter 2. And filter 1 is set as a low pass, and filter 2 is set as a high pass. And interestingly, mod 1 controls the low pass filter 1, and mod 2 controls the high pass filter 2. So this is probably some good stuff. I like this. Oops, let's bring down that resonance. That's pretty cool, I gotta say. Let's give a little glide in there. let's hear what each of the oscillators sounds like, because remember, oscillator 1 is going to the low pass and oscillator 2 is going to the high pass. So let's hear just the low pass. Let's bring the resonance down. And let's hear oscillator number 2. Remember, this is going to the high pass. Now, important to understand is that filter number 2 is controlled by the total cutoff and this post lever. This cutoff knob controls the cutoff amount to filter 1 and filter 2. This post slider only controls the cutoff to filter 2. So filter 2 is the amount of cutoff is additive. It is this plus this. So I can bring this down. And that's the most effect I'll get with just the cutoff knob. We add in that a little bit. And again, this is just oscillator 2 going strictly through the high pass filter. And I love that, to be honest. Adding a little resonance. That is great. And by the way, so the high pass filter should just be modulated by modulator 2. When I pull the modulator level down, you can hear there's no effect. Okay, notice I'm hitting modulator 1, the level, and it has no effect on filter 2. So anyway, I love that routing option. It's probably my favorite. The fact that the modulators separately affect each of the filters, this affecting the low pass and this affecting the high pass, is cool as heck and really helps you sculpt some cool stuff. Sounds really kind of psychedelic, don't you think? Okay, our last routing example has us looking at the VCO routed to NOR, the VCF, the voltage controlled filter, routed to even, and the mod routing or mod route is routed to dual. Okay, now what this does is it lets both of the oscillators go into only filter 1. In fact, filter 2 is bypassed entirely, but filter 1 is controlled by both modulators. So what you can do is kind of set up a 4-stage envelope by having modulator 1 and modulator 2 modulate the same filter. Let's see what that sounds like. So what we'll try and do is have a quick attack and release. Let's see. So do you hear that? There's a bow, wow. So this is the quick bow, and this is the slower wow after it goes. And my sound effects are spot on, I have to admit. So here we go again. And I'm going from memory here, but if I remember correctly, modulator 2 is a lot snappier. It's faster than modulator 1. So if you want kind of a fast attack, use modulator 2 for the quicker part, modulator 1 for the slower parts. Now, I was just sliding this, but remember this only controls filter 2, and because currently right now it's only being routed to filter 1, this has no effect. Okay, so that's 5 routing examples, and I think that all made sense. So